Hey, what's up? My name's Clary. First off, I want to direct your attention to Brittany Bears All. Fantastic ad. Really appreciate it, YouTube. Thank you. Secondly, I came across this video about autism and self-diagnosis. So I want to cover this whole thing, but it's like an hour long, and so far it seems like the video plus my commentary is like double whatever the video length is, more or less. I'm gonna try to work on that, be a little more concise, but this is what I got so far. Yeah, I very much want to cover this though. So far, I've only gone after like right-wingers. I haven't done many videos, but it's pretty much only been like against right-leaning people. So I thought this would be an interesting, look at the left for me. Self-diagnosis is something I've had a pretty strong stance on for like years now. And I think this would be a good video to cover once again when it comes to like my criticisms of the left, just kind of opening up that box, but also, I don't know, just to like challenge myself a little bit, because I really, not only do I want to like make sure I watch the entire thing, like try to be concise with, like what I say and how I go about it. I want to make sure I'm fair. I want to make sure that I'm looking up like basically any and every question I have about what's being said in the video. I want to look up. I really want to do like a deep dive into this. So yeah, it's going to take a little bit, but I'm going to get there. And once again, yeah, I think it'll just be an interesting look at my criticisms of the left, at least to start. First off, by the way, H-Bomber guy, fucking amazing. I am so happy to just like randomly see one of his comments in some fucking random ass like political video I stumbled on. Secondly, oh man, this first comment, like outside of this guy, this first comment right here, it's mainly the fact that they say they didn't go to school for over a year and a half. I don't know how that's possible. I'm pretty sure legal guardians are supposed to, like, by law, make sure you're going to school. Sure, you could drop out. Obviously, this person did not, because once again, they didn't go to school for over a year and a half. I ended up not going to school a single day for over a year and a half and completely isolating myself. Like, it doesn't sound like they dropped out. It sounds like they just, like, were tardy for a year and a half. Mind-blowing. So I kind of want to dive into the comments a little bit too, but just to give kind of an overview of where I'm sitting when it comes to self-diagnosis, like before I really get into this, I think self-diagnosis is almost always bad. So I've come to certain conclusions about, like, there are specific examples where I think it'd be okay. Like, for instance, I think, like, I split my arm open about a year ago. Like, I have a big ass laceration on my right arm. And I think, like, if I couldn't have afforded to go to the doctor, well, so, like, essentially, if you can't afford to go to the doctor, like, yeah, try to treat it yourself. Obviously, don't let yourself, like, bleed out or whatever. But, like, you should pretty much always just try to go to the doctor, even if it's gonna, like, put you in massive amounts of debt or whatever. Like, try to go to the doctor. The use of your entire body is so much more important than, oh, fuck, that's a hard one, though, isn't it? Try to go to the doctor. So if you have let me working on being concise. All right. If you have the ability to go to the doctor after you get your arm split open, you very much should. But if you can't, for whatever reason, either you just can't get to the doctor or you can't afford it, then yeah, obviously try to treat it yourself. And I think the same goes for like mental illnesses. If you or your family can afford like a therapist, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, whatever, definitely, go to them, get a diagnosis. They are like 100 times over more capable than you of like figuring out what your problem is and figuring out how to solve it. Like almost, it's like every single fucking time. I'm sure you can find like off cases where like somebody was like right about their like diagnosis being wrong from the psychologist or whatever. but more often than not, the person that went to school for at least 4 years studying these particular fucking things, this particular subject, is probably going to be more accurate than you when it comes to figuring out what your diagnosis is and how best to treat it. Of course, once again, if you're too poor to get a therapist or whatever, well, I grew up in the middle class. I don't really know how hard it is for like people in poverty to get those sorts of things, even though just saying it makes me kind of giggle a little bit, because it's probably not the easiest thing in the world, to be fair. And in that case, I feel like you should just analyze the situation and come up with the best solutions you can for the problem, right? That's pretty much all you can do if you can't afford to go see a specialist. But excluding that, I think self-diagnosis is, by and large, just a bad idea. It's pretty unnecessary, especially once again, if you can just like afford it, you got the time, just go and see somebody that's studied these things, that like whose whole life has essentially been dedicated to this field. Just go see them, okay? Now, yeah, you might wonder, what's the problem with self-diagnosis? And like, a lot of these things are a better summary of my like criticisms of this video. I've only watched a few minutes, as you can see, like 4 minutes, 14 seconds, whatever. I haven't gone very far into it. But this is kind of like a better version of what I had before when it came to explanations. What the fuck was I saying before that? Shit. So excluding people in poverty, you should pretty much always just go see a therapist if you think that you have a mental illness. So one thing I've heard before is, like, it's fine to keep track of your symptoms. Honestly, it's like essential to the process, right? You go into the doctor and you tell them, oh, well, I've been experiencing these things and that thing and those things and, this fucking thing raining down on my fucking head like a nightmare. You explain those things to them, and then they like put it all together and they're like, oh, okay, this is probably what's wrong with you. We're going to test it out and see if I'm right. It's more or less how it's supposed to go. So yeah, it's good to keep track of the symptoms, and you can maybe toy with your own ideas about it, but never assume that you like are capable of figuring out yourself. When it comes to illnesses, just by and large, not just mental illnesses, but like physical ones too. First off, disorders and like sicknesses, they can share a lot of symptoms. So even though it might seem like you have one thing, it could easily be another. So I feel like we've already learned a lesson about that when it comes to WebMD. It's super easy to pop on there, and even though you only have the common cold, it's like, WebMD is telling you probably have fucking stage 3 liver cancer or something. I feel like we've learned a lesson, but apparently we haven't, and we got to tackle the same exact thing again with mental illness. But also, like, when it comes to self-diagnosing, what if you're wrong? Just straight up, what if you're wrong, and then you've like kind of structured your life around this like mistaken belief, and you end up wasting a shit ton of time. You don't really end up improving. You don't get where you want to, and this entire time where you've just been like failing nonstop, trying to treat this illness you think you have, you could have just gone into the doctor and gotten an actual diagnosis and maybe some medication, a couple of some therapy, and that actually like gave you the results you were looking for. People could potentially spend like years of their lives on like just bullshit. Essentially, it's just wasted time. So I think there is real damage when it comes to the individual, and also how we see mental illnesses overall when it comes to self-diagnosis. Also, with the overall part, I think that people not taking mental illnesses as seriously as they would otherwise. Like when you have a bunch of people coming out saying, oh yeah, I have diagnosed myself with autism or OCD or bipolar disorder. If you have a lot of people doing that and their symptoms are really mild, like, oh, with OCD, well, I figured I was OCD after I couldn't stop myself from color coding my closet or something. That's not OCD. People have a preference for patterns like that. It's fine. It doesn't mean you have OCD. OCD. But if you kind of plant that idea in people's heads that OCD is as simple as that, it's just like, oh, you like things to be like arranged in a certain way, it diminishes like the impact that disorder can have in your life. And I would say the same thing when it comes to ADHD and autism, all that good stuff. Oh, another beautiful, like, paraphrasing from somebody else. So many people nowadays on the internet, they come out and they're like, oh yeah, I'm autistic because I can't shower on a regular basis and I can't talk to girls. And it's like, no, you're probably not autistic, dude. You're probably just a little socially awkward, whatever, you know? And it's okay, you can work on that. Like, autistic people in general. Never mind, I'm getting sidetracked. But overall, I think there is real damage that can come from self-diagnosing, and I think it is good to trust professionals. I feel like, as liberals, we talk about trusting the professionals when it comes to other things like, climate change, just science in general. We talk about a lot, especially when we're arguing against conservatives, but when it comes to mental illnesses, for some reason, liberals, Democrats like to just ignore that argument completely, and it will in favor of just like including anyone and everyone that thinks they have any mental illness at all, even just the remote possibility that they might have a mental illness. We must take that seriously. I think it's silly. I think it's very, very silly, and it causes real damage, and it's just bad. We should not do that. So, yeah, in the next few days, I'm going to be tackling this video, and it'll be interesting to see if my beliefs shift or change at all. Having watched it and having done some research, kind of using this video as a jumping off point, and I also very much look forward to looking at the comments. I'm very, very curious about this. Yeah, once again, this person has to be bullshitting, right? Also, in the replies, this is a fucking nitpick, but holy shit, they must have done this on purpose for some fucking reason. They spelled genuinely wrong, not once, but where is it? Where the fuck is it? Oh, and then, oh my god. I missed this the last time. They spelled genuine right, but they didn't spell genuinely right here, or... Shit, there's another genuinely. Hold on. Where the fuck is it? Fuck. I can't find it. I can't find it. There's another one. Oh, well, I didn't expand it. There we go. There it is. So, I almost feel like they're misspelling it on purpose to, convey something that I must be missing. Maybe it has to do with, the... I feel like ADHD doesn't make sense here. I don't. Also, obviously, there's spell checks in the comments. I doubly misspelled it, but you get the point. It should have been pretty obvious to this person while they're typing, especially since there aren't any major grammatical errors or whatever. It seems like they took their time with this. So the fact that they misspelled genuinely twice, but also spelled genuine, they spelled genuine right once, is just weird to me. I don't know. I feel like Snow Papa is fucking up to something. I don't trust this first one. Oh, oops. I don't trust this first comment mainly because I didn't go to school for over a year and a half thing. And then they have this weird ass double misspelled genuinely, but spelling genuine correct, even though it was obvious that genuinely was misspelled. It's just weird. I don't like Snow Papa. I feel like, yeah, they're up to something devious. They are. You can't convince me otherwise. Well, I guess we'll see at the end of this series that I'm planning. But yeah, we're gonna tackle Alexander Avila's fucking TikTok gave me autism video. And once again, just to summarize, I think self-diagnosis is bad. I think we should treat people with mental illnesses with respect, but I think it's also fair for me to call out bad parts of that culture, like self-diagnosis. I think it can actually harm people when it comes to their overall well-being, and I think it can harm the overall conversation around mental illness. Also, it's just unnecessary. As long as you can afford it, just go get a diagnosis. So yeah, Stay tuned for that shit, my 2 viewers, and you know who you are. Stay tuned for that shit, you 2 sons of bitches. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Love you.